Hey everybody, it's Vince Ferrara. It's our UT opponent preview. It's Gator Week. See? Gator Week. Yes, we're at the shrimp dock. We figured, why not? Tennessee, Florida are playing. They've got gator meat here, and they're selling it like crazy. 500 to 1,000 pounds of gator meat they expect to sell here at this location. 2,000 over their 3 locations around the area. So figured this would be a great spot to tape our UT opponent preview of the Florida Gators. Let's start talking about the Gators. Florida, from an injury standpoint, a lot more to deal with than Tennessee. They've lost Malik Davis, who's a really good running back. He is out with a broken foot, so he won't play in this game. Also, Sean Davis, questionable for this game. One of their DBs, they are thin in the secondary as Florida. They also expect to get one of their secondary guys back, or at least hopeful to, in C.J. McWilliams. And then their leading tackler, who hasn't played all year, linebacker David Reese. That would be a big addition to the Florida defense if they're able to have him for this game. Tennessee, pretty healthy overall. Now, Dan Mullen's been playing Rocky Top at practices for the Florida Gators this week. He even admitted that it's a catchy tune this week. So we'll see how often he hears it at Neyland Stadium coming up this Saturday. Now, connections with these two teams. Florida's punter, Tommy Townsend, yes, used to be at Tennessee. His brother, Johnny Townsend, was an elite punter in the nation. Then Van Jefferson, who is from Nashville. He's the only state of Tennessee player that's on the Gators roster, while he's a former Ole Miss Rebel, and he's transferred into Florida, while Tennessee has 15 players from the state of Florida. Interesting, if Tim Jordan doesn't start, none of those state of Florida players are starters for Tennessee. Also, a lot of coaching staff connections. You got Larry Scott, Charlton Warren, both were on the Tennessee coaching staff last year, and then Sal Sunseri from the Derek Dooley era, obviously, and then Chris Rump from Tennessee staff, who came over from Florida to join Jeremy Pruitt. Tennessee has 5 players that were teammates of Florida Gators players in high school, so a ton of familiarity between the two teams. Now, Florida on special teams is probably the strength of the team and really the most known commodity. They have blocked 3 kicks this year, including netting 2 touchdowns and getting a 2-point conversion off of a block PAT. Freddie Swain, their punt returner, is pretty special. He's 5th in the nation in punt returns. He has a long punt return for a touchdown this year as well. So Florida is going to be really good in the special teams area. Tennessee's got to match Florida and not have that be a mismatch in the game. Now, on Florida's defense, so much has been discussed about Kentucky rushing for 303 yards against Florida a couple of weeks ago when Kentucky pulled the upset. Couple of differences, I think, that don't necessarily apply to this game with Tennessee. One, Kentucky has Benny Snell, and Tennessee doesn't have anyone at the level right now of Benny Snell. 2, they run Wildcat. Tennessee doesn't really run the Wildcat. And then 3, that Kentucky team has a running quarterback in Terry Wilson, and Tennessee does not have that. We haven't seen that as part of the game from Jared Garantano. And then the other thing is, Florida didn't have C.C. Jefferson, their experienced defensive lineman who came back and passed on the NFL, nor David Reese in that game. So you don't have 2 really good defenders in that game. That hurt them. They likely will have both of them for this game. So that's another thing that's a game changer. Now, as far as the rest of the Florida defense, they're really good in the secondary. They're not very deep, though. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, he's a future high draft pick, and he's a guy that's a first-team All-SEC caliber player. Also, Jabari Zuniga, he was honored by the SEC as the top defender this week. And then they have size in the secondary, not deep, very, very thin, but all of their DBs are 6'1" or taller, even as tall as 6'3" as well. So they've got some size back there in the secondary. Now, Florida's offense, they're similar in some ways to Tennessee. The offensive line, they've got a future first-round draft pick at left tackle, and they're kind of shaky the rest of the way. That's the case for Tennessee. Also, running backs, they've got multiple backs. Jordan Scarlett, Michael Pirine are the more experienced guys, but then they've got a freshman they're really excited about in Damian Pierce. He's actually Florida's leading rusher, 11.6 per carry Now, fans are frustrated that maybe they haven't seen him enough. Will this be the game where you see more of him? And then the wide receivers, upgraded by Van Jefferson. Freddie Swain is among that group. Tyree Cleveland, Josh Hammond. We've got some pretty good wide receivers, although they haven't been really prolific. And then Ciante Lewis is a solid, experienced tight end. Now, obviously, it starts with Felipe Franks at quarterback. He's been highly inconsistent. Florida reporters will tell you he's a little bit better, but it's been a slow development for him. I think he's a little slow to release the football, go through his reads. That's something that Tennessee may be able to take advantage of. And then as far as the series, we all know Tennessee was able to snap the streak a couple of years ago, so they won the last meeting in Knoxville. But still, 12 of the last 13 have gone to the Florida Gators. It's this year that Tennessee continues to get it back in their direction. And then I think interesting, the Dan Mullen storyline that hasn't been discussed a ton. Dan Mullen was coveted by Tennessee under John Curry in the coaching search at that time. Of course, Scott Frost ended up going to Nebraska. Then Florida turned its attention to Dan Mullen, got him, and then that took him off the table for Tennessee. So now here he is coaching against the Tennessee Volunteers. Now, my must-watch most matchup in this game, and there's a lot of them because I think it's going to be a very close game. And I think this time it's the coaches. It's Jeremy Pruitt, play caller on defense for Tennessee, versus Dan Mullen, play caller on offense for the Florida Gators. I think this is a game where we might see some things that we have not seen, some wrinkles we haven't seen from those two sides. I think it will be very interesting whether Jeremy Pruitt dials up the blitz in this game that he hasn't done a ton of. Tennessee will bring pressures from different areas. Maybe it'll come from the linebackers. Maybe it'll come from the secondary. I think this could be the game where Tennessee might expand and do a little bit more in terms of pressures. And how will Felipe Franks handle that? Maybe he turns the ball over a little bit more. And then I think Tyson Helton and Todd Grantham on the other side. Will Tyson Helton maybe throw the ball a little bit more, perhaps on first down with Jared Garantano? Will Todd Grantham, who hasn't blitzed a lot, is this the game where he might do more of that? He hasn't really felt like he's got the personnel to do it. Will he come after Jared Garantano? The good news for Vols fans is Garantano has been one of the best in the country at completion percentage and passer rating against the blitz. We'll see if he sees that more. I think Tennessee should respond with more passing on first down. They're 21 of 25 passing on first down at 14.8 per. I'd like to see Tennessee open it up a little bit more on first down, and I think that's a huge part of this game. And obviously the line of scrimmage is going to be big, and Tennessee needs to play a clean game also. But as far as the must-watch most matchup, I think it's the coaches and those play callers in this game. Now, as far as our location here for our opponent analysis, they've got gator here. We told you about all the pounds of gator they'll be selling. They got fresh gator, frozen gator, gator gumbo, smoked gator sticks with pork, gator po' boys, gator tacos, gator sausage, even smoked gator out on the smoker. So thought it'd be fun to come out here to the Shrimp Dock in Bearden for our opponent preview of the Florida Gators. I'm Vince Ferrara. Join us next week as we will preview another elite team in the country, the Georgia Bulldogs. That'll be at sportsradio.wnml.com. You can follow me on Twitter at VinceSports and on our website, of course, at sportsradio.wnml.com. Thanks for watching.